Wow, I'm sorry I'm so late. I had a real hard time getting on tonight. I was on my old Portland Community College. Anyway, I was on the wrong, whatever. I apologize. Is everything okay? Yes, everything's fine. We have stereo sound, so everything is perfect. Okay, what is this? This is something important. Okay. Yes, interesting. I just found something very interesting. Okay, I'll take a look at that later. How is everybody? How is everyone? Is everyone in one good piece or multiple pieces? I don't know. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, I am connected. Wow. Let's see. Okay. Takes a while to get on here. Okay, there I am. Ooh, I love the way that mic sounds. So I thought it would be fun to get on tonight and maybe play with the guitar, do some card reading. I've not tried the guitar with the mic, but I bet it sounds really good. So I submitted my first film, the first film I've ever made for a class. And I'm going to edit it a little bit and then I'll put it up. It's the story of how Mila is living her life, and she's secretly she presents herself as a regular kitty, but she has another life where she's working for the French resistance and all kinds of other exciting things. Yes, it's very funny. It's a cute little story. I took some random shots of Mila throughout the day, and I cut and pasted them of her running around and playing and doing things, and I created a story around it. So it's very funny. Anyway, how are you all doing? Anybody got any announcements or anything? You're getting up at 4:30, Marjorie? Oh, my love, you got to get some sleep. Hi, Jeffrey. Good to see you. Hi, Jane Copley. Great to see you. So it looks like the remotes are getting more and more accurate, huh? So we had an interesting conversation with Mike Johnson a couple of days ago, as many of you recall. We did a remote, and there was a private conversation that happened between him and a couple of GOP hardliners and Democrats. And lo and behold, what did they do? What did they do? They signed a bipartisan bill. And then, did you guys all hear what Mike Johnson said today? He said some pretty cool things. He said that he thought that Iran, China, and Russia were the axis of evil. Even though he doesn't like to use that term, and that they're out to wipe us off the face of the map, and that he really believes that. And so for that reason, he's pushing through the Ukraine money. Now, is that what Trump wanted to hear when Trump said, no, let Ukraine fall? We don't care about Ukraine. Of course not, because Trump, of course, was in bed with Russia. And now we have another situation with Trump, which, of course, we can also talk about. And that's the fact that Mr. Trump appears to not be able to keep his mouth shut in the courtroom. And this is something that Mary Trump has talked about, this slow unwinding of his mental, he's simply getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And it's starting to look a lot like he's not going to be able to finish this trial. Or what do they do in a situation like that? Do they gag, restrain, and put him in a glass box and he has to sit there? Is that the point we're getting to? Because I can tell you, if his people are actually finding the names of jurors and threatening to kill them and everything else. Hi, Susan. Good to see you here. We have to ask ourselves, who built the monster? How did the monster get to be so big, right? How did this happen? How did we get to have this big baby monster? And do you think that this big baby monster has something to teach us about little America, right? That maybe he is the ugly, ugly thing that we don't want to see, the ugly shadow that is America. Is that what Donald Trump is? Is he our shadow? A big racist baby having temper tantrums that wants to eat a bunch of junk food, get fat, doesn't want to go on a diet because that would be too much work. Terrible geography, right? Doesn't know where anything is, just calls every place a whole country that isn't, going to make him any money, right? Well, they're not going to make me any money, so therefore, right? Loves money, doesn't want to work, just wants to sit around and play all day. It's something to think about, right? Is this how the rest of the world sees America? And does the entire world look at Donald Trump and say that Donald Trump is teaching us something very profound about ourselves? Something to think about, right? Okay, without further ado, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do the empath's prayer. For some bizarre reason, my cards are not in front of me, which would make it rather difficult for me to help you. Hold on a second. Did you guys want to hear any music tonight on the new microphone? Yeah, I was playing earlier. Okay, let's do the empath's prayer. Oh, a root canal, those are no fun. I've had plenty of those. I've probably put at least 40, 50,000 into my mouth. I know. Most people put a down payment on their home. The equivalent of a down payment on a house has gone into my mouth. I know. It's just veneers and everything else that's gone. 20,000 for the veneer. Over 20,000. I know. It's terrible, isn't it? What can you do? Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. All right, so a couple things going on that we might want to touch on in terms of blitzes. First things first, royal news. Last time we did a channeling of Prince William. It was the first time that I was able to get. He won't talk to me usually, and I have to do this by permission. And he's one of those people that he's a very private person, and I have a real hard time making contact with him. So I was very surprised when he was willing to talk to us the other day. But what he said, what Prince William said, was he said that some things are going to be coming out about me in the next couple of weeks, and you folks should be prepared for that. And it's going to paint me in a really, really bad light, and I hope you guys will show me some compassion. Now, there was a huge reaction to that, namely because people felt like he hadn't been particularly compassionate to anybody else. When we had done a profile of Prince William, it came out that he had developed this intense hatred and anger towards Harry because he felt that Harry had been given the freedom that he had not been given, and that he to some extent had transferred his resentment onto Harry. Now when we did a remote, it looked like Harry and Meghan were moving towards legal action against Prince William, and they were working their way up with their attorneys and Meghan. So they were starting with the underlings, the son, and from there they did an investigation to find out if there was a relationship, if they could prove a relationship between these magazines and the royal family, which of course they could. And then they began to subpoena documents, and then they moved on to people that were actually working in Kensington Palace, working for the royals, and they began to uncover a pattern of racism, harassment of other staff members who were people of color. And so now the expose about harassment, specifically harassment that seems to have been engineered directly by William, has been breaking. According to William, it's going to get bad within 2 weeks. I figure he would know better than we would. I don't know what else is coming. I can't imagine what else is coming. But when Prince William wants to talk to you and you're in the middle of a shower and you got this, his energy comes in and you're like, okay, well, I don't want to miss that opportunity. So it's now looking at less than 2 weeks. Something's going to break, I don't know. I don't know what to tell people. I think that for me as a remote viewer, I'm frequently stunned, horrified by the horrible things that human beings have the capacity to do to one another. And we can certainly blitz on this, but the reason why it's relevant is because of the amount of power that the Tories and the House of Lords and the royal family have in terms of manipulating the press to bully, even to drive someone to suicide, or in the case of Meghan, drive others to kill her. Create such inciting hatred for her that someone else pulls the trigger or someone else drives them off the road. And so that's why Meghan is basically saying to William, you tried to kill me. You're trying to kill me. Well, now calm down, Meghan. Now I think you're being a little rash here. You tried to kill me. Well, I think you're being a little hard. You see, now that they can prove it and they've got all the documents, that it all goes back to you, William, and we're coming after you legally and we're going to publish it all. It looks pretty damning. So this is going to reach ahead in less than 2 weeks based on what William is saying. And also what William is saying is that Meghan is coming after him, and Meghan is coming after him legally, and Meghan is going to sue him. Oh, she's coming for me. You know what's interesting also to be William is, no, Meghan, no, calm down. You were so cocky when this whole thing got started that you were going to teach her, you were going to show who was boss, you were going to pick on her and beat her up and do everything to her. And now you don't go from struggling actress from a working class, middle class family to being the Duchess of Cambridge. You got some brains, on her way to being a billionaire. This girl, the thing with William is he always underestimated Meghan. He thought, I'm going to get rid of this little nothing. I'm going to take care of her. And she'll be dead. And then my brother will come back. And psycho. It's like a cult. It's like a cult. So it's interesting to see that, yes, in fact, that's playing itself out. Is Kate really sick? Yes, Kate is really sick, but that's not the issue. I think the issue that people have to look at is the BBC's culpability as a broadcasting network. I think we're missing again the forest through the trees about what the real conversation here is. The real conversation here is the BBC a reliable news network? Because I don't know about the rest of you guys, but that sounds pretty horrifying to me that they were caught distributing something that had artificial intelligence. It was rejected by Getty. This is an engineered product. It is not film footage. And the point at which a news agency does that, it's no longer a news agency. It's North Korea. It doesn't matter if we don't know where it originated. We know it's AI and that it was rejected as not authentic by Getty, which authenticates. So the next question is, how long has this been going on? And what kind of justification can a news agency have that they are that easily manipulated by the royal family? Well, we were trying to respect her in case she didn't look good, in case she went missing, in case what? In case what? In case what? What? ABC News, NBC News, CBS, or BBC, it doesn't matter. Your job is to report the news. So you chose to publish something that was artificial intelligence, which isn't real, as fact because you didn't want to emotionally upset people or because you're so controlled by the royal family. What does this have to do with democracy, free speech, and a free press? You should have just said, I'm sorry, we're the BBC. This has been doctored. We can't sign off on this. Now, if she comes to our studio, they claim she came to her studio. The quality of that film footage is not 1080. Why would you go to a place like the BBC and have to shoot something on 1080? Doesn't make any sense. You're the freaking BBC. You can't shoot the Princess of Wales at the BBC, so you didn't shoot it at the BBC. It was shot somewhere else and then doctored and then handed third party. Doesn't make any sense. So at this point now, the BBC is suspect. You see the real conversation? This is why they're calling Britain North Korea. It's not just the royal family now. It's the royal family. It's the BBC. It's the British press. Your job is not to keep the story going because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and you're just going to be like 1984 and we've always been at war with Oceania, and if that's what Kensington Palace tells you to publish, you're just going to publish it. That's not the job of the news. The job of the news is to report the news, and you didn't do that. And I think that this is the time when that people should be looking at the BBC and saying, who are you? What are you? That to me is the issue. I know people want to get into the whole, did he have an affair with Rose or all this other stuff? But for me, what has fascinated me about this story is domestic violence. The idea that somebody would have that much power. I know it would be difficult for me if I was swept off my feet by some prince, the slow burn, some guy I met in college when I was some young pretty thing before my brain was totally developed. You know how you are at 18, 19. It's not like when you're 30 and you've had kids. And you get in with this strong personality who promises you that he's not going to be like that. He's not going to have mistresses, and and your guys are going to be equals, and he's going to change the world, and he's going to be liberal and progressive, just, and blah, blah, blah. And you're the artsy fartsy one. And you think you guys, well, you trust him implicitly, right? No prenup. Clearly she trusts him. He trusts her. And then this other person emerges. That's what it looks like to me as a remote viewer. Like he became someone different. He became increasingly conservative. The other thing I feel is that everyone wants to leap Kate into the same category as hey, you ever fallen in love with a jerk? Well, you lose your mind. You lose all sense of rationale. I can't imagine what it would be like to be married to somebody in the firm. Like you're going to single-handedly take on the firm. We saw what happened to Meghan, and you're married to the guy. You're going to try and stay alive. That's what you're going to try and do if you start thinking that this guy has gone south. This guy no longer loves me. This guy can't even stand me. This guy's going south. This guy's lost his bond. This guy could kill me. This guy's a threat to my safety. He's already beat his brother up, right? So when you put yourself in Kate's shoes, it's a completely different dynamic. Catheryn does not have a history of ill feelings towards Harry. She didn't grow up with Harry. She didn't grow up with Harry having her buttons pushed because Harry got all the attention from mom while you had to spend your Sundays with the Archbishop learning a bunch of Latin, bored out of your wits, while other kids were off playing. Your childhood was taken from you because you were going to be the future king, and your bratty brother, he got to go play with mom and do all the fun things. He had a childhood. He had a well-rounded childhood, and then he had a well-rounded adulthood. He joined the military. He had real life experiences. He had normal girlfriends. He married a normal person, right? Like he married he was free to marry who he pleased at a time when he was old enough and mature enough to handle it, right? So Harry's options were much greater than Prince William's, and for that reason, he hated his brother and continues to hate his brother for all those freedoms. And he hated Meghan for insinuating or suggesting that the life he lost to the firm was pointless, that many of the things that the firm is doing are actually harmful. Now, that would be unbelievably infuriating to anybody if you lost your entire childhood, your entire, all your freedoms. He didn't even get to pick what he got to wear on his wedding day. He hated that red outfit, right? So Harry talks about this in Spare. This guy is extremely infuriated that he lost his freedom. So to have somebody come in and say, it's all BS. Let's turn it into something positive, or to say, there's a lot that's wrong with the firm. You can imagine that didn't go over very well with Williams. And he was, particularly since he had incredible animosity towards Harry. Now, if she'd been submissive, little blonde, she might have survived. Right? But no offense to blondes, but she would have fit the Windsor package, what Windsor's usually, that image that they were going for. And so I think that was also a problem with that. Let's go ahead and throw some cards on it. What I said as Catheryn, you guys had asked if I would do Catheryn next, so we're starting with Catheryn. What I felt as Catheryn was that they were going to put me away, that I had served my purpose, that I had 3 children, and I was almost like telling people, don't believe them. They're putting me away. I'm telling you, they're going to put me away. It had a feeling of like almost being held hostage, like I was going to be put on this estate, or I was going to be put on this place, and I was to be put away, and I was to stay in this place, never to see the light of day again. I mean, it felt like that as Kate. And then that video came out about cancer, and I was completely thrown for a loop. I'm like, well, what the hell? I mean, she was telling me that her husband was abusive, that they told her it was all in her head, including her medical problems, which we now see it wasn't all in her head. And she was being, talking about mental health, because they were telling her it was all of her pains and everything. Oh, just meditate, take biofeedback, take another antidepressant, right? And then by the time they get in there, this girl's got cancer. Oh, so I guess the biofeedback didn't help. So that's how I felt as Kate. Not that I wasn't really sick, but that it had gotten to this point because I'm crying. Hey, look at me. I'm not doing too well. You're fine. You take another Xanax, right? I felt dismissed. I felt put away. I felt discarded. I felt like I had done my duty. I felt like the kids were going to go off to boarding school, and I didn't want that to happen, because once that happens, they can do away with me. They can discard me. Now it's coming out that for her, it's for the best for Kate. She's going to be stepping down indefinitely from public life. And we're going to take Adelaide Cottage and we're going to expand it for her own good as part of her recovery. Now, I've had family members that have gotten sick. My brother had Crohn's. We didn't build 6 more rooms for him to recover from Crohn's. And Crohn's, you are at higher risk of colon cancer, by the way. So it's, if you were removing a section from colon and you detected cancer cells, that wouldn't be unusual. And you could recover in about 3-4 months. They might do some preventative chemo, right? So, colon resectioning. But that's not what this was. That's not what this conversation, I'm not saying that wasn't happening, but this was a separate thing that was happening. So if you think someone's crazy, or if you think someone needs to stay in the home 24 hours a day and you're not going anywhere, and you're going to be put away where you won't talk to people and tell anybody what's going on or whatever, then you might need full-time staff to handle your crazy ex. To make sure that she stays in her room and does her art and paints her pretty little pictures. And that is how it felt. Now, if that is true, if this is all about to break, and if that's what we're looking, which is pretty damn horrifying, that's what the king of United Arab Emirates, the sheikh, that's what he did. He was locking up and throwing away members of his family, right? That's scary. It's very scary. I don't like seeing it come true, Kim. Like when people were mad at me, that's why I took the thing down, because I don't want to accuse anybody of abuse or anything. But then it all started happening. She's not going to be coming back for a while, and she's not going to be coming here, and she's not going to be going to the Commonwealth. She needs to recover, and she's going to be staying there. It's like, who else is going to be living in 10, according to the remote, he was staying mostly at an apartment in London and with friends. I feel like she's not dead. I feel like she's going to be fine and that she will recover. 6 of Cups over her, which is very good. It means that she would return back to those things she loves. Also, her karma card is the World. Kate's going to be okay. But I think she's heavily controlled, and I'm very worried about it. I do not like this energy at all. Well, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, but what about Sheikh Hyde? What was her name? Sheikh Hyde, the daughter of King from Jordan. Married, she was the 3rd wife of the guy from Dubai, Abdullah, and he was beating her and torturing her, and she escaped to Britain, and he was banned by the royal family. He couldn't attend any more events because of it, but his daughter is still missing, and she did get a hold of a cell phone, and she was locked in a villa with guards around her, and she was able to record on the cell phone that they were discussing executing her. And so that was I think one of the last recordings they had. So that's how it feels to me. As horrifying as that is, to be Kate, like that. And that is why I think many readers were saying, I don't know you anymore. Who are you? The person that I fell in love with and had a love affair with in college is not this guy. Where she's at right now, a decision. She has to make a decision. The crossing card. She wants to flee her situation like a thief. What is above her? She's completely confused. Mental confusion, lunacy. That's true. What she sits in, she's been betrayed, stabbed in the back multiple times. She is confused. Somebody needs to go in there and get this girl out. You know what this reminds me of also? It reminds me of the Britney Spears, Free Britney. This woman, I'm telling you, Catheryn, does not have, you have to understand, she does not have Williams issues, because she doesn't have 30-something years or 40-something years of resentment built up against Harry. This is all in William's mind. You understand? He's obsessed. You took my childhood. I'm in prison. I'm telling you, just like when you guys remember when you asked me to go down and talk to Putin 5-6 years ago, and he said, I want Ukraine. And if you don't give me my trade routes, I'm going to bomb you guys. Remember that whole thing? And here we are, right? He said he was going to drop a nuke. Now he's trying to bomb Zaporizhzhia to create a dirty bomb. He did everything he said he was going to do. Now he's threatening to bomb Israel because he's desperate. You go into the energy of Catheryn, it's this incredible look. Her fourth house, what is above her, is lunacy. Her entire world, this, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the end of my marriage. When I was divorced, I did go through a period of thinking, like, who are you? You start to look at someone and think, was I hypnotized? You ever been in a relationship with someone like that where they just turn on you? Or maybe, or the entire time they were up to something and you had no idea, right? Look at her, third house. Who here does a 12 card Celtic, right? With the 2 on the bottom. Third house, what she sits in, that means, you know what, do you know what it is to sit in something? Do you know what the third house is of a Celtic cross? I'm sorry, I can't bend this or I'd show you guys the cards. Do you know what the third house is? The bottom of a Celtic cross. Anybody here who's taking, by the way, after we finish HCRV in the next 3-4 weeks, we're starting Mystical Tarot. It's a great series. I teach it for about 6 to 8 weeks. You'll love it. The third house is what you marinate in. It's like a swamp. It's what you sit in. It's the foundation of your house. Think about that. It's your obsessive compulsion. It's the thing you cannot let go of. It's the thing that goes around in your head over and over and over. It's the bottom. It's the third card in a 12-card Celtic cross. The third house is the card that sits on the bottom. You sit in it like a swamp. You marinate. A lot of readers call it marinating. And you cannot let it go. Ever had obsessive compulsive disorder about somebody that did you wrong? That's the third house with this woman. Look at what she's marinating in. Look at that. You screwed me over. If it were true that this guy wants a divorce or to put her away or something like that, which I have to be, even if it's not what people want to hear, I have to tell people what I see as a remote viewer. Invite people to read their own dang cards. Look at this. She wants to flee like a thief. That's a crossing. A judgment where she must flee like a thief. What is above her? Complete confusion. What she sits in. I've been completely betrayed. I gave you 3 children. I gave you the future monarchy. I never cheated. I never spoke ill of you. I was completely loyal to the firm. What did Charles say to William when William said he couldn't stand her? He literally moved out. He moved to London to get away from her. She was driving him nuts. Let's go to therapy. I don't want to go to therapy. I'd rather chew on broken glass. I can't stand her. Right? He wants to sit around and obsess with the Tory friends at the pub, getting drunk, bitching about his wife, bitching about his brother, bitching about his sister-in-law. And she feels betrayed. So Charles said, is not loyalty worth something to you? But should not loyalty be worth something? I got to be William. I got to be Charles. And as Charles, I found myself saying to my son, should loyalty not be worth something? Are you sure you want to do this? Put her away and discard her like that after everything she's done for the firm. Her past placement. I'm telling you, the other thing that is not public information about Catheryn, and this is why I don't believe she's on the same race thing as Will. I think they went in totally different directions. I think she went more left. I'll tell you, there are things you guys do not know about Catheryn. Her and her mother have gone in a different direction that is not public information. They have become even more Christian, more devoted, and more dedicated to the church and serving the poor and arts and patronage. And this was the original deal when I signed up for this. You're supposed to be the future head of this church. So lead. It's to serve, to be patrons, to serve the church, to serve the poor, and to give our lives to Christ through our church, through the British, through the Church of Britain, that we're supposed to represent this stuff. I take this seriously. I do go and give. I do seek guidance from the Archbishop. This is not public information. I am deeply religious person, and so is my mother. We've become increasingly devoted to our Christian faith, and this is not something first off, we're discouraged from publicly talking about our religious beliefs publicly, but I can tell you that this woman is privately, deeply committed to her faith as a Christian. And that the reason that her and Carol have started wearing the cross is because this is something together that they feel very committed to, is how they can be a force for good through their relationship with the church. It's something they take very seriously. The Queen's relationship to her confessor. She must have that relation, and she does, to guide her as a queen, to go to the Archbishop, to go to her priest and be able to unburden and pray with him. This is a side of Catheryn that is simply not public information, and every time I go in, I find it. She reads spiritual books and she draws strength from them. I'm telling you, there's a woman here with a secret life that you folks know nothing about. The Hierophant. The church. It sits in her 5th house. She already committed. The day she married her husband, she married the church. That is how she feels. With full rights in the church. This is Catheryn. You're going to put me away? What I draw strength from is the church. I married both of them that day. He's going to be the future head, the King of Britain. It's a very deep thing what she's saying. Her future regarding the church. She's a patron of the church, Queen of Swords. She will fight with the sword, the truth of the church. You see this? Now, is this annoying William? Oh, God. I think that we should pray together. I think that we should listen to what the Archbishop is saying. I think we should seek counseling. I think that we should go to Mass. I think that, this is driving him crazy. I need another drink. You go to Mass for both of us. You know what I'm saying? You go to therapy for both of us. You pray for both of us. Where she is, can you believe these cars? I just love my job. Where she gains her strength is from her faith in Christ. I mean, like, whoa. What's good and bad about this? She's getting real power, right? She's getting real power because she's working on her spirituality, returning to what she loved as a child. What did she love as a child? The church, her relationship with God. Her relationship with her husband, she's been betrayed. She wants to flee like a thief. She has to make a serious judgment about it. Her karma with the Church of Britain, she will carry the sword of truth for the church. She will enter into a place of power because of it. Her strength is with her faith. Isn't that crazy? It's interesting also, like after I started channeling that information, I've started to notice her leaving church services. She's always wearing the cross and Carol's wearing the cross. And it's just like, I think it's great. I love it. I love seeing people drawing on their spiritual and particularly when you're sick or you're going through difficulties in your marriage or whatever is going on with her. She's not drawing on the things of this world like fame or beauty or getting Botox or all that other stuff. She's saying, okay, what's going to sustain me, my marriage, my children, and my place in the world is we've got to get right with God. And so for that, I have to give kudos, because that's the fact that she's willing to do that is, and it keeps coming up over and over and over again, that is what she's doing. It's not an accident that lately, like the last couple of months of pictures of her, she was wearing a cross. It has to do with this transfer. Just as her marriage was falling apart, health challenges, etc., she really had nothing to turn to. And that, has anybody been to London or Britain? You can go to the churches, and you can go to the churches in the Tower of London. But even in some of the castles, they have small churches which are confessionals for the Queen, so that she could go and have her own church, and she could have private time with the Archbishop. So many queens requested that, so that they could have a private place to seek counsel. And you see that tradition with Catheryn, that she avails herself. And certainly if she was worried that she was going to die or be sick or something like that, the Archbishop and Bishop would certainly be making house calls, praying with her, giving her prayers and guidance. And it's really a good thing. Her energy is very positive in that regard. All right, let's get to some questions. Hi, Rush. Great to see you here. Vivian Rivers, Earth Helper, hello. Tish B is in the house. Lily H, hi. Thank you. And thank you, everyone who has liked, subscribed, and joined the channel. Hi, JH. Trump has been passing gas in court while he sleeps. Well, that doesn't surprise me. He's getting older and he is sleeping a lot. Mary Jane Spellman, hi. Allison Jacobs, hello. Thanks for your membership. Hi, Chris Crowdis. Thanks for your membership. Kathleen O'Malley in the house. Have I said yes to you? Hello to you? Yes. Jillian Moody, hi. Cooper Broom. You love my channel? Oh, thank you. And thank you for your membership, Jay Perez Estrada. It has paid for the new mic. You're a retired dental assistant and you're glad to be here. Well, my bottom, they got to straighten my bottoms, parts of my teeth, and then I get my bottom veneers. I've only got top veneers right now. So Linda Bazan, she writes, I used to be a deputy clerk in criminal district court. I would swear in the jury, and I've never heard of the jurors being named or even spoke of their careers. Maybe federal court is different. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of that either. That was kind of weird. Yeah. Oh, Kozanka. Hello, Kozanka. Good afternoon. Oh, you're a loyal follower. Great. Yeah, dinner, enjoying your presentation. Oh, fantastic. Hi, KD. Is there a way anyone has heard of or can see if feel anything to different non-related people? I saw in dream many years ago a friend 6 months ago, baby Lisa. I don't really understand that question. Jillian Moody, how will H&M help the family if they're in the process of suing the family? Well, Prince Harry is more than happy to try and help his father emotionally or in any way, father to son, son to father. But that doesn't mean he's going to sit back and let somebody threaten his wife. Remember what Meghan said when we did the remote and we put ourselves in. I found myself saying to William, you tried to kill me. You want me to back down? You want our attorneys to back down now that we've got all this evidence that you engineered a plot to try and get me killed and harass me? And now calm down, Meghan. So clearly William is at a point where they've probably got enough evidence now to formally sue him, and he's going to be the one being dragged into court. And so that doesn't surprise me that a couple of days ago he said that something was going to, there was some massive thing that was going to break and it was going to make him look bad. And now it's coming out, all these complaints and people filing possibly a class action lawsuit even because of racism in employment for the royals. So let it all come out. And if it was engineered by William's people, the truth always comes out. Be a decent person. You know, just be a decent person. I believe what people tell me in the remotes. And I trust the remotes. If someone tells me something major is going to break in the next 2 weeks, all we have to do is breathe and wait in the next 2 weeks. It appears it has to do with the fact that people could be potentially filing civil suits. I think it's obvious it's going to be that, because William told us that Meghan was behind he was blaming Meghan for pushing Harry, according to the remote, into a potential lawsuit against him and the people that work for him. So clearly it's going closer and closer to William, and William wants to put a stop to it. He's insane. He should never have had it got to this point. What did he think? Is that, Harry said, I'm going to protect you. So if somebody comes and threatens my wife, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my brother. I told my wife I was going to protect her. I'm coming after you. See a psychiatrist. I don't know if we'll ever see Kate again, because it was so ominous what she said to us in February. Then everyone started screaming at me. I'm sensitive. I mean, I can only tell you what the person tells me, right? And then I teach HCRV, right? There's a few people do it now, but go down and I always tell people that I don't like your Kate. Well, go down and maybe your Kate will say something different. But we have group meetings once a week. We have closed targets, and we also discussed open targets. And most of the remote viewers here will tell you that when they go down, they pretty much find the same thing. I like it when people disagree with me, and then I make a note of it, and I say thank you, and then we just see what plays itself out. And sometimes it's a kind of cross between the two of us got it right. We just got different information about something, but it's fun to see it play itself out. Will we see Kate again? Yes, because she's going to escape. They're trying to put her away. He's literally going to keep her at Adelaide with a bunch of workers to help her. And look at this jail. She's trying to escape a jail. This is not. I don't know how the law works in Britain. Is there some way we could, break her out of there? I don't know. She's trying to escape somebody, possibly a partner 2 of cups. She's trying to get away from him. He doesn't want anyone close to him talking with the media. There's a back and forth or wishy-washy behavior. William believes his wife is mentally insane. He wants it's not just the cancer. He's saying he believes that it's for her own good, and that he believes she's mentally ill. And that is why he wants her to have a very nice life at Adelaide with full-time care for her problem. But we won't be seeing much of her in the future. It was a judgment to partially incarcerate. Who? An inverted Queen of Cups. He put me away. It's an old English thing. Up in the attic. Off you go, Catheryn. I guess he can do it legally. It's legal, Bedlam, right? The creators of Bedlam. Yes, and it's so nice because Rose Hanbury evidently has been calling And they've decided that it's Rose that's going to be taking care of her. Isn't that nice of Rose? Yeah, she's going to be coming and seeing that you're tucked in nice and cozy. Doesn't that just sound beautiful? You just need a little bit of yellow wallpaper to be just fine. Yes, the King's lessons every Sunday. Yes, he had to go and learn the entire liturgy and its meaning and everything. And he had to learn the Latin. When I went into the remotes, I was so angry. And then I had to grab this book. And the way I grabbed the book, I tried to break the book. Because I didn't want to go. Wouldn't you rather hang out with your mom and all the fun stuff they're doing? I never got to do that stuff as William. Of course I hate him. He's sitting there goofing off, getting hugged with mommy, and she's calling him my little love bug, and they're going to watch a movie. They're watching the telly, and I got to go and listen to crap droning on in Latin and everything else. I'm a kid, and now she's dead. And so it's never, I used to hope I'm going to be able, every moment I get to spend with her. And then what? Then finally finally there'll be time. And then what? She's dead. So there's never going to be time. So whose fault is it? It's Harry's fault. Because now she's dead and I'm never going to get my mommy. Right? You took it all for yourself. Right? It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's a feeling that Kate doesn't want to be in the middle of it. Leave me out of this. I'm sick. I've got 3 kids to raise. I don't have this long-standing animosity towards Harry and Meghan where every button is pushed. Why would I? I've got my photography. I've got my children. I've got my life. I've got my mentally ill husband, right? Keep me out of it. Now they think I'm in on it, right? That's Kate. Jillian Moody, Whimsy, Kate is suspended, hanging in balance. Yes. Well, she goes into very deep, energetic places of taking care of herself. Evidently, there was a picture of her recently by Adelaide Cottage talking to some other people that live in that area, and she looked like she was looking pretty healthy. I think she's pretty healthy, but I also think that she's controlled and cannot leave. You don't say no to William. Do they have her heavily medicated? Not anymore. I mean, that was one of the things that came up, though, was that, you saw it verbally, her saying, and how are you doing emotionally? She was always, and her patronage was about mental and emotional. But the point is sometimes it's not mental health. Sometimes it's Crohn's disease and, or endometriosis or whatever was going on, and you need medical attention. And I think where a lot of doctors' heads are going is, why would somebody with this type of wealth have doctors that didn't know it was cancer until they broke the package open, as got in there? Oh, it is cancer. That's not how we practice medicine in the United States. There would have been ultrasounds. There would have been, you can do biopsies, all kinds of things before you get into a situation, if you're doing a resectioning or something like that, and then you send it back for biopsy and find cancer. The point is that she's a young girl, and it makes people think that some kind of medical neglect or somebody had their opinion on the scale, possibly leading doctors to think that it was all in Kate's head. Was she denied medical care like lots of women, where they're gaslit and told it's all in their head, and the next thing you know, you've got stage 4 cancer? And that's the concern that many people had. Well, what do you mean it's cancer? What stage cancer? Those of us who have medical training, well, let's be specific. What type of cancer, where, and how long have you had cancer? Because someone like you, it shouldn't just be you wake up one morning and voila, you've got stage 4 cancer. These types of cancer, particularly something like colon cancer, if you had a pre-existing condition that puts you at risk for cancer, like Crohn's disease, then you're getting constant monitoring and you're possibly being put on anti-inflammatories, etc. It just doesn't make any sense. Same with endometriosis. At the very least, they would have put you on, they put a woman on birth control pills, right? They would have done an ultrasound. I don't get what's going on. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Jillian, thanks for mentioning that, Jillian. I mean, this is something people just want to hate on people. And I don't know what that's about. I don't know why people want to just do that. But there's a lot that Meghan and Harry couldn't say, but they said. I mean, Harry could only talk about his abuse, him being beaten, him being attacked, him being abused. But I think what they did was they tried to hint, suggest, or imply she was going through some things, Kate. Well, according to what Kate told us, her marriage was falling apart. And she was having medical problems, hormones. She's having health problems, right? So, and Meghan has stated emphatically over and over and over again, Kate is a good person. Leave Kate alone. Do not harass Kate. Kate was going through things. She's not a bad human being. It's William. They're very clear over and over and over again. We like Kate. So hating on Kate isn't something that the Sussex have signed off on. And they've been very clear repeatedly over and over and over again. Kate is a good person. William is the issue. So I think Meghan's an intelligent person and she clearly knows what she's talking about. So I'm just going to go. And when I go in, I see that Kate is a good person, but she was young. She fell in love. She thought she could do some good, young and in love. And he changed. He became increased. She saw a side of him she had never seen before. And he became increasingly conservative and they grew apart. I think that Harry's going to save her. I think that Harry and Meghan are going to sue William. I think that they're going to I think he's going to have to sit on the witness stand and they're going to show evidence, or he's going to have to back off and do something, because if he doesn't change, they will drag him into court. And he's facing legal action in the United States, too, if he was responsible for the stunt that nearly drove him off the road in New York City. You don't act like that in our country. You want to act like lunatics with Mad King George, whatever crazy's going on over there, knock yourselves out. But this is the United States. Get the hell out. We're not going to put up with that crap. Geocosmic Valentine, hi. When you, HCV William, can you ask him at some point if he felt different or had headaches since his Gulf head injury? I did. He had no memory. He doesn't really have an adequate memory. When you haven't, he doesn't have perspective on how he was different. It makes sense to him that he grew increasingly resentful of his younger brother that got to eat popcorn and watch E.T. when it first came out, because his mom had free early access, right? To all the cool movies, not E.T., but, like all of the cool stuff that was coming out. Pop it in, Paradise. And you're stuck having no childhood at all. So that's kind of what it looked like. All right, on the political front regarding Mike Johnson's turn. So it felt to me, are we done with the Royals? Anything else? Look, all I can tell you is that she told us he's going to put me away. She's been put away. She is not dead. She's been put away. It's the aristocrat who basically His wife becomes the designated patient, right? As he becomes his abuse makes the victim increasingly crazy, and her craziness is a symptom of his abuse, and he can't have people questioning whether or not he's being abusive. So he's just going to put her away because then she won't embarrass him by making public questions like, how are you doing emotionally? Right? We don't need to be talking about that. How's the plumbing? Right? Um, yeah, it makes me uncomfortable, Kathleen. This, what are you doing? You're going to lock her up I just, or is it all just an excuse to get the taxpayers who can barely boil water because the economy is so bad right now in Britain to pay for their, we've been wanting to expand it. Now we can go ahead and milk the taxpayer by saying it's part of her recovery, right? You've got multiple homes. You don't need to do that for her recovery, but we can manipulate people. Is that what's going on? I don't know. Group readings are on Sunday, George. We do a group reading on Sunday. Did Queen Elizabeth know about any of this? She listened to her advisors who were racist, she Tweedledee and Tweedledum and the Hornet and the Wasp. If you read the Spare, he talks about all the horrible advisors that the Queen had. Yes. I think a lot of people are really regretting what they did because, man, what that would have done for the royal family to have this hip young couple. It's all, you can't tell me Charles doesn't know that William screwed up. But the problem with Charles is he has no courage to stand up to his own son because his own son is going to be the king. And so it's like, well, he's going to be a king too. So I can't really, there's this kind of apathy I find. You have to be nice to Meghan. You're the eldest statesman after all. That's all you're saying to him after he tried to kill your daughter-in-law? It's like, it's such a lukewarm response. Well, you must work with Meghan. No, he needs to go to prison. He needs to be charged with her, and that's exactly what Harry and Meghan intend on doing if he doesn't back off. Does King Charles also believe that she's crazy and needs to be put away? Doesn't Charles has no power over what his son does. He can say, I don't like it. Must you be like this? Catherine's been loyal to the firm. Must you? You don't know how to take control of your kid? Wishy-washy. What's going on with my son? Well, it's just one. That's the house. Here's King Charles. I don't know what to do. I'm back and forth. The William Catherine house. Hopes and fears. His ego. Remember, a wand is, they're getting a divorce. He intends on divorcing her, which is the best thing he could do for her because then she can be free. But he's afraid of what she'll say. She needs to come to America and start talking. Take George. They the older ones are she has no control over, but she can not George. Is it the little one? What's his name? Louis, the artist. Yeah, they're getting a divorce. You can see back and forth. It's getting worse and worse and worse. He simply can't. He sees his marriage as a prison. Hopes and fears. Look at that ego, the fire wand. Final outcome, divorce court. They're getting a divorce. She's not dead. She's just recovering from surgery, and she has an abusive husband. I'm sorry, but that's what it looks like. Okay, will Governor Gavin Newsom continue to do a good job or not? Well, I can't see why not. He's a good governor, right? That kid was drinking since he was a kid, you know. His mom would fall asleep with a bottle of wine, watching the telly. They would leave the bottle out with a glass, and she would pour herself one, maybe two glasses. And then either she'd fall asleep or go into her, she was lonely, you know. And the boys would drink the rest of the bottle. And that's how the rumor got started. The helps would come in the morning and they would find an empty bottle and her asleep or whatever. And they started thinking she was drinking the whole thing. It's amazing what you find out when you're a remote viewer. Harry, William, you know, no, they sneaking the wine. She called their socks muffins. She could hear the little muffins. So giggling and sipping some of the wine while Mummy sleeps. So they decided they liked it. That's a problem, right? So it's interesting. All families have something, and this is a family that had something. A lonely woman going through a horrible divorce, no one to talk to other than friends on the phone or sitting at the telly. The kids go to sleep. She has some wine. She's depressed. She falls asleep. The kids, William and Harry, come and sneak in, giggling. They take the wine. And the next thing you know, there's a problem where by the time he's 13 years old, he's grabbing the bottle. And you're not saying no to him. That's the problem. Nobody said no to him. Yes, Gavin Newsom is a very good governor. He has the star over him, and I see stability. His enemies have the devil over them, which means the GOP is really putting themselves in a potentially bad situation generations to come. And they need to stop blaming the Democrats for that. They did it to themselves. It's because of this obsession they had with Donald Trump, like Ronald Reagan, only worse. He's worried about this Trump thing. Slow and steady wins the race. Knight of Pentacles is also stable. So for that reason, I think Gavin Newsom has a stable future. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He tried to kill your daughter-in-law. I mean, sending reporters to go and try and run somebody off the road. Creating such salacious hate Meghan that people are threatening to kill her. That they're hunting them in cars, that, I mean, people saying, we know where you live. I mean, just, it's dangerous. What they were doing is they were bullying her to the point where either she was going to be driven to suicide or someone was going to be driven to try and kill her, or she was going to be driven off the road like William's mother. And William did it intentionally, and he organized it through the press to make life as hellish for her as possible. He wanted to kill her, to destroy her, to crush her, because he also knew it would crush and destroy Harry the way that he was crushed when Mummy got taken away, because he's mentally ill. And he needs to Harry did not take your childhood away, all right? And he didn't take Mummy away. And he didn't create the luck of the draw where you wound up the firstborn stuck having to do all the work. Harry didn't do any of that to you. The firm did that to you. And you now realize, because you're an adult, William, that the firm did that to you, not Harry. And that Meghan was right. That the old ways are not the best ways. And that is why William is trying to pull back and get out of this thing, because he's in prison. He's always felt like he's in prison. And so the real reason he was defensive and so angry at Meghan is because she's telling the 100% the truth, and he knows it's the truth, that this is all BS. I mean, the only reason she was willing to do it is because she thought they were going to help people. But then when she saw they weren't even helping people, she was like, forget this crap. She did a cookbook. She was trying to get clothing drives for women so that they would have clothes to wear when they go for a job interview. She was actually she was doing things that actually worked. Here's a cookbook where you can make a meal for 50 cents or less. There's a couple ingredients I got in there from when I was a starving actor. You'll like them, like the mush recipe. And here's some cheap clothes that you can get on sale. We've got it organized to get you for your first job interview. I mean, these are practical things that women need. Well, they hated her for that, right? Because it was empowering, particularly women of color, etc. So, no, you got to go, Meghan. So the conservatives are on the outs all over the world, and the resentment exists because all over the world, but they did it to themselves. It's like Republicans complaining that the Democrats are going to get a bunch of new Democratic voters because 7-point-something million new immigrants have come into the United States. Don't blame Republicans because your policies are repulsive to the immigrants. Well, they're going to vote Democrat. Of course they're going to vote Democrat. We're not crazy. We're not screaming about sending children that have come out of a war zone in Syria. My God, can you imagine the horrors those poor children have come out of? And you're screaming and you're saying you're going to send them back to their own deaths, and you wonder why they're voting Democrat? We're victims. They're going to vote Democrat. Gee, you think? Doesn't make any sense. All right, Whimsy, Jillian, Moody, hi. Thank you for being here. What about Heritage Foundation against Harry? Thanks. Yeah, we can take a look. I mean, if I were the judge, I'd throw it out of court. I mean, we all know what heritage they're preserving, right? It's eugenics in the white race, right? You've done something against our heritage, right? Let's take a look. It's very disturbing. I mean, these are belief systems that were started during the time of Queen Victoria in response to socialism because they were frightened that the socialists were winning. Random people, because we're genetically different. You're mudbloods, you're defectives. And so if you're no different than we are, then what the hell are we doing here, right? And so Meghan is a threat to the very end. Well, if she's just like us, but she's a mudblood. You see, it starts to get really complicated after a while, right? Yeah. So that's the heritage that they're preserving. Isn't that wonderful? Can you imagine having a heritage like that and wanting to preserve it? All right, let's take a look. Gotta be like Jewish people. Take in new members, converts. It's good for the gene pool. All right, so it's perceived of as selfishness. Okay, so the great computer in the sky, right? When we go to the Akashic field, we think of the universe as being like a thinking universe, and it communicates with us the truth through the cards, right? And so what the universe is saying is that the powers that be are frightened of losing power and sharing their wealth with everybody else. So when you have a great life, when you have wealth, when you have power, you don't want to share it with other people. And so this is the hoarding card. It's the card of wealth and confidence, but it can also be a card of someone who wants to hoard their wealth. The Nine of Pentacles. You know, he is wealth. He is wealth. He is rich, but he doesn't necessarily want to share it. And so what happens with hegemony and with colonialism is they try to get the natives to fight amongst themselves. Because if you can get the natives to fight amongst themselves, then they're not going to be fighting with you. We can see fighting in the streets. They hoard their wealth while there's fighting in the streets. The hopes and fear, peace, because they don't want us getting organized. Confusion. They want to keep things confused. So the Heritage Foundation was all about preserving the heritage and holding on to their power and their wealth. The Heritage Foundation is going under. And it looks like there's going to be an expose on the Heritage Foundation, which is a secret foundation. We all know where they're getting their money, white churches. They're white supremacists. They're eugenicists. They're trying to preserve their ideas of the white race as the white Protestant society. That New England pure white, blonde, right? Where you can what do they call it? What was the Victorian ideal? The Victorian ideal was your skin was so translucent, you can see the veins through. Now, doesn't that sound pretty? I mean, they really believed in this, right? That you were so white. That to me looks like you're anemic, but that was the Victorian ideal, right? Because they were so threatened by read the beauty standards. And they're putting white on them, white makeup to make them even more white, right? That's what it says. That's what it said. They want to see the veins. I don't know. That was the beauty. Look, do I know? These are questions for Lena Rodriguez. She's the sociologist, right? People are laughing like, huh? Can you see my veins? I'm extremely white. Like I'm a typical white girl, right? So you can see the veins. Like that was considered attractive. Because they're vampires, I heard somebody say. They know exactly where to think. No, you guys are horrible. That is not nice. Be nice. Yeah, so it's power. So what? You guys are killing me. Oh my God. No, Meghan and Harry are going to win. This is the fight. Harry wins. By the way, there's a tower coming for the Heritage Foundation. Oh my God. Did you guys see Remains of the Day, or what was that Edwardian movie? The House of Mirth, where they go into that whole thing where the decollage, what do they call it? What did they call it back then? Where you would have to have it down like this so you could see. Decollage, what is it called? The Edwardians were really into it when they really got into proving that they were whiter than white. I mean, I did it. This is what I did my dissertation on, by the way. But they would wear them really low like this, right? So that you could see my veins. See? So that was part of it, was to show that you could see through the decollage. Yes, and you could see my face. For any vampires that might be showing up in the royal family. Yes. Reptiles and vampires. Oh my God. You guys, you're killing me tonight. Oh. All right, are we done? Did we go a whole hour? I think we did. Oh my God, you guys cracked me up. So I don't think you guys are fans of the royals, huh? What's it called? Decolletage. Decolletage? Yes. Yeah. The Alabaster. Yes, alabaster and translucent skin, where you could see through the skin. Yes. And bloodletting also, so that kind of blue, almost anemic, sick. I mean, these were and 19-inch waist, and just delicate, being extremely thin, frail. This was very Edwardian, being the vampire imagery. I mean, uh, it's something to think about, because when you look culturally at what the royals have been, people think like they're vampires. And then when you find out that that was in fact what they promoted as beauty, it does make you think, right? All right, you guys have been a lot of fun tonight. Did you have fun? Did you guys have fun? Oh my God, I'm going to be laughing all night tonight. Oh my God. All right. Be well. I love you guys. I will see you guys for private readings. If you're members, you get private readings on Saturdays at noon for our private salon. It's a private get together for the members. It's $2.99 a month, $2.90, so it's not expensive. And then on Sunday will be the big show. We'll give the collective for everybody. All right, everybody, be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. I love you guys. Peace out. Thank you.